We expected them to take her back in handcuffs and lock her up.
But that's not what DeKalb County Judge Mark Anthony Scott ordered Wednesday after a jury found Pamela Ballin guilty on all 3 counts of murdering her husband, Derek Ricky Ballin.
We're upset. The whole family is upset, you know, because it's been 4.5 years we've waited, and we finally get justice. You know, 12 people found her guilty, and the judge just lets her walk.
Ricky Ballin was found dead at the couple's DeKalb County home in 2009. Pamela Ballin told police some men beat her husband during a home invasion, but prosecutors say there was no evidence to prove that.
I mean, she bludgeoned the man. He had 10 blows to the head, and I mean big blows. Can you imagine standing over somebody and hitting them 10 times?
Ricky Ballin's cousins say they don't understand why Judge Scott let a convicted murderer walk.
First, the lawyers asked him, aren't you going to make a ruling on what he had brought up? And he says he's going to wait until after the verdict to make the ruling.
The jury deliberated for 2.5 days before returning the guilty verdict. Now, we found Pamela Ballin at her business in DeKalb County, but this woman jumped in front of our news unit and stopped us from going any further on the property.
How do you guys feel about the jury verdict?
Get the out. How's that?
That's how you feel about it?
And our system of justice is built upon a jury making decisions, a jury figuring out what happened, and a jury ultimately dispensing justice. I mean, that's how it works. Whether you like the result or don't like the result of what the jury does, that's the way it's set up. In this case, a jury came back and said guilty. She's guilty of murder. The judge then releases the convicted murderer on bail and has set up a date for a hearing to hear a motion to have this verdict thrown out. And then it's over. Prosecutors won't get to appeal it. It will be over, and she'll be a free woman despite being convicted by a jury that heard all the evidence. Let me bring in Mikey Ballin, the brother of the victim, Ricky Ballin, and David Ballin, Ricky's son. Guys, thanks so much for being here. And first of all, our thoughts are with your family for your loss. But I know this is now turning into more than a single loss. It's a slap in the face, waiting more than 4 years for justice, a jury coming back and speaking, then a judge not listening to what the jury had to say. Mikey, if I could start with you, just your reaction to what this judge did after the jury spoke.
Well, it really slapped the family in the face. My mom is really hurt. It's hard to take, believe me, to know that 12 people sat in a room, find someone guilty, and then she goes home.
David?
Yes.
Explain to me, and I haven't been in your position. I've been a prosecutor, but I haven't been in your position where you've lost your dad. I mean, that is horrible in such a manner. Explain to me how you felt at the moment of the verdict, and then how you felt after the judge did what the judge did in this case.
Well, the whole situation has been surreal. You know, I mean, you never think you'll ever be in a situation that we found ourselves in over these last 4 years. You know, obviously, my dad was my idol, my hero. You know, I mean, he was the greatest man I've ever known. So to lose him, even if it wasn't in such a manner, would have been difficult in and of itself. But to have lost him in the way that we did, it just came as a shock. Once the verdict came back, I was still in shock because, again, I've known my former stepmother for many years, for most of my life. She was a paternal figure in my life. So to have the jury come back guilty, and we saw the evidence, I mean, there's very little doubt that she did it. I mean, there's no doubt that she did it. For the jury to come back guilty and then have the court release her was a shock to the system. We've been waiting for this for so long, just to find out exactly what happened and to have some finality, some closure to this. For us to not get that on the day that the jury came back with the verdict is crazy.
Because I mean, you lose your father, and you shouldn't have. He should be alive today, and now to know that the person the jury said is responsible and did it on purpose is home. Mikey, let's talk a little bit about some of the evidence in this case. Because it was, I mean, I've looked at it. It seems like it was straightforward, overwhelming.
Yes, it was, because there was no forced entry into the property. There's a couple of things. No forced entry. There was no evidence that anyone else was in the house that night, but my ex-sister-in-law. It's very tough to speak about right now.
You know what? Take a moment. Let's just take a moment, guys. If you can hang out there for just a minute, we have some more questions for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming here, but I want to give you a moment. So we're just going to take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll talk some more, because there needs to be justice in this case. And we've got to make some noise about this. We can't let it just happen. This one's really, I don't understand this one. You know, family waits more than 4 years for justice for the murder of their loved one, Ricky Ballin. And the jury comes back and delivers that justice, that sense of justice, you know? You don't get closure, but that's all you have left. And then the judge releases her and is considering a motion to have the jury's verdict disregarded. Unbelievable. Mikey Ballin, the victim's brother, and David Ballin, the victim's son, back with me. Thanks again, guys. David, to understand what happened here, this was your stepmother.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything in the relationship that would indicate that this was even a possibility, or did this completely blindside you, the murder itself?
Yeah, the murder itself definitely caught me off guard. I mean, like, really up until she was charged, I mean, I had no reason to believe that her story that she told us, my entire family, was anything but the truth. I mean, we haven't had the best relationship my time growing up, but I mean, in my adult years, we had formed a better relationship. And again, like, there was nothing to indicate that this was something that she was capable of. But like my dad always told me, everyone is capable of anything in a moment. So it looks like that's what happened here.
Has there been any contact between her and anyone from your family since the guilty verdict?
No, not since the guilty verdict.
All right. Mikey, justice is what we want. You know, whatever and justice means different things to different people, but in this case, it's obvious what it means to you. Is the person who the jury said murdered your brother should be held responsible and should be behind bars. Do you have a message for the judge today?
Yes, do the right thing. 12 people found her guilty last week, Wednesday, and I thought that she'd be handcuffed and walk to the door to the left, but no, she walked through the main door, and you know, they should arrest her today, right now, and you know, send her to jail, prison, for the rest of her life. Because what she did was very vicious, and you know, I cannot believe that someone that I know could do that to someone who she's supposed to have loved for 24 years.
24 years. David, the other part of this that is still lingering out there, there's a hearing. There's for this directed verdict, which means the judge didn't decide before the jury a motion to have the case thrown out. He reserved on it. And then the judge is setting a time where he's going to make that decision after the jury's already spoken. If, in fact, he delivers this directed verdict, she walks.
Yeah.
What would happen? I mean, what does that do to someone whose father has been murdered? To have a judge overturn and say, you're free to go, despite what our jury said?
I mean, it would tear me apart. I mean, look, I mean, it's like I said before, it's difficult enough losing your father, but to lose him in the manner in which I lost him, which my sister and I lost him, I mean, it is unthinkable. And for the court not to seek justice, you know, for my father, the victim, and to side with the convicted murderer, it seems like a ludicrous ending to this. I mean, I can't imagine it. It seems unfathomable to me. So, I mean, we're just hoping for the best, that the court will make the right decision and allow the system to work the way it's supposed to work, which you alluded to at the beginning of this segment. You know, I mean, it's supposed to, our system is set up where the jury decides. The jury has decided, so the court should act on the jury's decision.
You know, our system is a lot of courts, they have victim advocates, people who help people in your position. Has that support and help been there for you guys? Has someone been there to help you work through all this, or you basically been on your own?
Yes, someone has been there, and she's really, really a lot of help to us. She's been there from day one, from Pamela was arrested, and she's still working with us as we speak.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I wanted to make sure that there's someone there that is at least helping you through this difficult, difficult time. I mean, all we can do is make noise about it and let everyone know what's going on inside this courtroom so it doesn't happen behind closed doors, you know, and no one finds out about it. And we're going to stay on the story. And again, our thoughts and prayers are with your family, guys. Thanks so much for sharing your story, and hopefully justice in the end here.